time to spend the daytime in quiet place, meditating. At the same time, Dandapani also came that way, walking for his daily walking exercise. Dandapani means one who has stick in his hand, a stick in his hand, walking stick. He must be pretty old and walk with walking stick. Or we don't know whether he was old or just as fashion. Just he carried walking stick with him. So, and he aided a supporting walking stick. He asked Buddha a question. It seems, according to commentary, that he was a follower of Devadatta and not very respectful of the Buddha, and in a sort of arrogant tone, in sort of sarcastic tone, he asked the Buddha this question. What is the question? Question is, what does the seclus assert? What does he proclaim? Simple, but sarcastic. So in the first part of the discourse, is expressing Dandapani's aggressive attitude, impolite attitude towards the Buddha. Second part is the meaning that Buddha want to express the state of enlightened person. So from that, Buddha went on explaining the rest of the discourse. This discourse also is very straightforward, relatively short, but it has a very deep meaning. So what did the Buddha say? In answering his question, Buddha gave this answer. Friend, I assert and proclaim my teaching in such a way that one does not quarrel with anyone in the world with its gods, its Maras, and its Brahmas, in this generation with its recluses and Brahmins, its princes and its people, in such a way that perception no more underlie that Brahmin who abides detached from sensual pleasures, without perplexity, shorn of worry, free from craving for any kind of beings. So the answer is not that simple. Buddha wanted to give this kind of answer to humble him down, to remove his arrogance. When you break down this question into understandable way, the answer, Buddha's answer is, friend, I don't have any view. When you have views, then there would be quarrels. Therefore, I don't quarrel with the world. It doesn't say here, but the world quarrel with me. Nahang lokena vivadami loko maya vivadati. I don't quarrel with the people, with the world, but the world quarrels with me. Why I don't quarrel with people? Because I don't have views. In Sutta Nipati, we can say Kalaha Vivada Sutta. People quarrels, take weapons, and mukhasattena vitudeti. Mukhasatta means, I mentioned the other day, verbal weapon. Verbal weapon. We use words as weapon. And to attack people, to stab with words. It's a very common thing. When you get angry, when you have views, when you have opinions, when you have biases, when you have prejudice, you can use words to attack others, to hurt them to their marrow, cutting through their skin and bone and go into the marrow. The words are very powerful. All this come from views, opinions, ideas, emotions, biases, and so on. Buddha said, I don't have any of these things. And therefore, he says, in such a way that perception no more underlies that Brahmin who abides detached from sensual pleasures, without perplexity, show no worry, free from craving for any kind of beings. I don't have any of these things. That is the essence of the answer. But Buddha added more adjectives. He said, in the world, with its gods, its maras, its brahmas, in this generation with its recluses and Brahmins, its princes and its people, who have these quarrels and fights and so forth, these beings. Among them, I live among them without any quarrel. So he said, that is what I assert. That is what I assure. That's what I tell people. That is my position. He said, this is my view. He didn't know this is my view. He didn't know this is my opinion. He didn't know say that is my philosophy. He didn't know say that. He said, he described the nature of the Buddha, nature of enlightened mind, nature of an arahant. He explained. But Dandapani came from a different position. He came with opinions, ideas, beliefs, prejudice, all this. Therefore, he was completely bewildered, confused, could not grasp the meaning. And therefore, it is very interesting. The Sutta says, you can see, okay. Sutta says, then Dandapani says, then Sisang Okkametwa, Jiva Niloletwa, Tis Sakang Nalatikang Nalate Uttapetwa, Dandamolub Pakami. That is his reaction. What he did, it's very interesting. Dandapani Sakya spoke, he shook his head, wagged his tongue, and then and raised his eyebrow. Eyebrows until his forehead was puckered in 3 lines, until 3 lines appeared on his forehead. Some of us don't have that. Some of us have more than 3. So that expressed his confusion. He answered, he expected very simple answer. But his question was so unfriendly. It is just like, like belittling the Buddha, belittling with some sort of contempt. With this contemptuous attitude, when he asked the Buddha, Buddha was so enlightened. Buddha said, this fellow must be humble right now. And he gave this answer. If he were without any prejudice, opinions, and if his mind is free from all these things, probably he would have understood at least part of it. But he did not understand anything. So he showed this, he made this expression, putting his tongue out, shaking his head, raising his eyebrow, creating these 3 lines on his forehead, and went away. Then he departed, leaning on his sticks. Now, then the Buddha, afternoon, he returned to the monastery, Nigrodharama. Then Buddha repeated this encounter with Dandapani. That because I was in such and such a place, after my meal, I was taking rest and spending quiet time. Dandapani came and asked me this question. I gave him this answer. Then another monk asked the Buddha, but Venerable Sir, how does the Blessed One assert and proclaim his teaching in such a way that he does not quarrel with anyone in the world, with its gods, its Maras, its Brahmins, in this generation with the recluse and Brahmins, its princes and people? And how, Venerable Sir, And now, and Venerable Sir, how is it that perception no more underlie the Blessed One, that Brahmin who abides detached from sensual pleasures without perplexity, shorn of worry, free from craving for any kind of being, free from craving for any kind of being. So even this monk who was under Buddha's training, or they might have a lot of training, and we don't know how long this monk has been a monk, but even he did not understand the answer, let alone this Dandapani who came with different tradition. Even he did not answer, understand. Then Buddha, when he asks Buddha this question, Venerable Sir, what does it mean? Then Buddha made it even more difficult and said, Bhikkhu, as to the source through which perception and notion of born of mental proliferation beset the man, if nothing is found there to delight in, welcome and hold to, this is the end of the underlying tendency to lust, of underlying tendency to aversion, of underlying tendency to views, of underlying tendency to doubt, of underlying tendency to conceit, of underlying tendency to desire for being, of underlying tendency to ignorance. This is the end of resorting to rods and weapons of quarrels, brawls, dispute, recrimination, malicious words, and false speech. Here, Buddha mentioned 7 underlying tendencies, what you call anusayas. Anusaya. What are they? 7 anusayas. I think we all know. I think better to remember them in Pali. They are Patigha Anusaya. First is Raga Anusaya. Raga Anusaya, Patigha Anusaya, Dittha Anusaya, Vichikicha Anusaya, Mana Anusaya, Bhavaraga Anusaya, Avidya Anusaya. There are 8 Anusayas. When you think of defilements, Anusaya is at the lowest rung, lowest layer. From Anusaya arises Asaya, Asava. From Asava arises Sangyojana. And more visible of them is Nivarana, 4 layers. If you draw layers, the lowest layer is Anusaya. It is dormant, not very clear, because it is at the deepest level of defilements, in the subtlest level, Anusaya. And then, as I mentioned the other day, when our senses come in contact with sensory objects, these dormant defilements, the subtlest defilements, get stirred up. They are disturbed. Then they began to raise their ugly head and gives rise to asava, the second level. Asava are the things that we have brewed throughout our samsara. We have brewed, we have nourished, supported, made them rich, powerful, developed throughout our samsaric existence. Asava. Kamasava, bhavasava, vaidhyasava, dikkhasava, disasava, 4 asavas. And then they get support from Anusaya, and they raise their ugly head, and then 10 fetters arise. 10 fetters arise. We all know 10 fetters. Sakkaya, Ditthi, Vicikiccha, Sila, Pasaparama, Kamara, Vyapada, Ruparaga, Manuddha, Vijja. These are the 10. They become very, very, very powerful. Now, as long as they are there, periodically we have nivaranas, obstructions, to block our mind from seeing truth and attaining concentration, gaining concentration. So what we do, when hindrances arise, we temporarily overcome them by tadanga or patipassa. Tadangas vikambana. Tadanga means factorial destruction. That means temporarily, factor by factor, we overcome. That's called tadanga, means limb. We cut off limb temporarily by attaining jhanas, by practicing meditation, maybe mindfulness meditation. When we practice mindfulness, when sleepiness arises, we take care of that at that time. When anger arises, we take care of at that time. When restlessness arises, we take care of that time. When doubt arises, we take care of that time. So one by one, we take care of. But that is not permanent destruction. We cannot permanently eliminate them. It is like when there is dust, we sweep it. Later on, dust arises again. Then you take water and mop it, wash it. Dust arises again. Then you clean the whole place and put concrete so that dust will not arise again. Similarly, we keep doing that for all these nivaranas, hindrances, but then they don't disappear. Why is that? Under nivarana, there are fetters. It is just like, in desert, you can see the trees are very tiny little on the ground. If you cut it off, they grow again. And they cut them again. And my good example is somebody planted bamboo behind my window. I said, don't plant bamboo here because that will block my view. He said, no, Bhante, this is not Sri Lanka, this is America. It doesn't go there. I said, this bamboo doesn't recognize the country or the politics. It grows. That is the nature. He doesn't believe, he planted it. Believe me, after 1 year, I actually could not see anything through my window. Completely blocked. Then I said, this is what I told you. So he felt so guilty. He cut them. After a couple of months, it grew again. Then he dug it many places and removed. And still after a few months, it grew again. Then he got a bulldozer.
No, that was Diane.
Yeah.
Diane had the track.
He got a bulldozer and bulldozed it. Believe me, after about 6 months, again it grew. And there was a woman, I told her this problem. One day after breakfast, she got a digging bar, hole, and started digging. Every inch she dug. And she found about 2 feet long, this big root, and removed it. After that, bamboo did not grow there. This is very good example for me to remember how hindrances grow from fetters. Fetters are underground. They have a very big network of roots. Until you remove all the network of roots from underground, hindrances arise. We attain jhanas. We have what you call vikambana, temporary suppress, vikambana. No matter how long we remain in jhana, fetters will not be destroyed. That is what happened to Buddha's so-called teachers, Alarakara, Muddakaramputta, and so forth. They are very highly developed, highly involved in meditation and develop meditation and attain fourth immaterial jhanas. Shanta Vimokha, they are called Shanta Vimokha. They are not called jhanas. Material jhana is called Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihara. Immaterial was Shanta Vimokha. They attained this Shanta Vimokha and thought that was the end of samsara, nibbana. But their fetters remain intact. So Buddha saw this. And the Buddha said, until the fetters removed from the mind, they will grow. And that's what he did. So, in this list of 7 underlying tendencies, they are called this, I think there's a good translation, underlying tendencies, underlying of all of them, underlying of all other defilements, they remain as roots. From that root grow asava, from them grow what you call sangyojana, from them arise hindrances. And therefore, underlying tendency to lust, raga anusaya. As we all know, many modern psychologists say craving or desire is cannot be eliminated. Desire cannot be eliminated. That is why they have problems. Because they don't know how to eliminate it. Buddha taught the way to eliminate it. And also there's a aversion, anger, cannot be eliminated. But the Buddha proved that they can be eliminated, that anger can be eliminated. And then underlying tendency to views, that is what Dandapani had. Dandapani had maybe lust, anger and all this. And views. Once a person has views, then other two defilements definitely can arise or can be brewed in that person's mind. Lust and aversion. Because as we mentioned in the first discourse, what we mentioned, the first discourse is the one we discussed. Not Samadhi. No, not before that. First one. No, we don't have the Nibbida. Nibbedika Sutta. In the Nibbedika Sutta, I mentioned the lust is insatiable. It remains as anusaya. It remains as hindrance. It becomes fatter. It becomes asava. It becomes anusaya. See how deep it goes. That is why it is difficult. It is for many people, it is impossible to destroy. Why is that? Because of views. In the outside object, there is no views, no desire, no greed. Objects are just objects. This is just a book. That's all. I can like this, I can dislike this, I can get confused about this. All depends on the state of this mind. All are in the mind, not in the object. Greed is not in the object, hatred is not in the object, view is not on the object. They all are in our mind, the way how we have conditioned our mind over a long period of time. So long as we have that, anger and lust arises. Or the underlying tendency of doubt, of all kind of perplexity, confusion. In Buddhist tradition, doubt has two aspects. One kind of doubt is wholesome doubt. Other is unwholesome doubt. Unwholesome doubt is sort of incurable. The skeptics are never satisfied with any answer. When they ask a question, if you try to answer the question, he would not be interested in the answer. He would be thinking of the next question. So you answer that question, then he would be thinking of another question. So he likes to ask questions, never be satisfied with anybody's answer. That is chronic skeptics. That is the kind of doubt that is dangerous. there is another doubt which is held doubt. For instance, when we listen to Dhamma, when we read the Dhamma book, we have a question in mind. We have doubt. Buddha said, doubt arises where there is a doubtable situation, unclear situation. So Buddha encouraged people, if you have any doubt, ask questions. If you have any doubt, ask questions. Asking question is not a sin, not a weakness, but that is a sign of wisdom. Inquisitiveness of learning Dhamma, investigation of Dhamma. Dhamma Vichaya Sambojjhanga. Dhamma Vichaya Sambojjhanga we develop by asking questions. To ask questions, we have to have doubt. Therefore, that is a healthy doubt. So, here, underlying tendency to doubt is that skeptical doubt. Then, of underlying tendency to conceit. Conceit is mana anusaya. We all know mana is measure. We use the mana, we say in Sinhalese, maninawa, verb, using mana. For mana, we have to have a measure. It can be weight or distance. To weigh the weight of something, we have to have a measure, scale. To weigh distance, we have to have a measure like yard, the foot, and so meter, and so on. But our yard, our measuring, our measurement is I. I measure all of you of my measurement. I'm so and so. I know so much, so much. You know you are so and so. He is so and so. He knows so much and so much. I'm so wealthy. You are so wealthy. I'm so tall. You are so tall. I'm so fat. You are so fat. I'm of this color. You are of that color. And so forth and so on. I use as a measurement. That's called mana. Very good word. Underlying tendency, conceit. Underlying tendency of desire for being, bhavaraga. Right? Bhavaraga. Desire of being is desire to be born again and again and again. Or desire to be someone in some form or some size, some life. Underlying tendency to ignorance. The root of all this underlying tendency is ignorance. We see in the Dhamma cycle, beginning is samadhi. In the samsara cycle, beginning is avidya. There are two cycles, Dhamma chakra and samsara chakra. Dhamma chakra begins with understanding, samsara chakra begins with ignorance. So Buddha found Dhamma chakra. Chakra is a wheel. Wheel. You never find the beginning and end of a wheel. When you see a wheel, you never find the beginning and end of a wheel. But Buddha found the beginning and end of a wheel. How did he find it? How we find a beginning and end of a wheel? You have a circle. To find the beginning and end of a circle, all we have to do is to draw a line. When you draw a line, that's the beginning of the circle, and you go around and come to the line. That is the end of the circle. Buddha said, Anamatago ambheke samsara uppakotina panyati avijjayati bhavatannacha. Because the beginning of samsara is indiscernible because of avijja and bhavatanna. Avijja nivarana, tanna, sanyojana. The beginning of samsara cannot be found because of ignorance and craving. But he never said end of samsara cannot be discerned, cannot be found. He never said end of samsara cannot be found. Why? End of samsara can be found. That's what he did. He found the end of samsara. The beginning is avijja. When you end avijja, samsara ends. Isn't it? Simple logic. But he never says samsara, ending of samsara cannot be found. He simply said beginning is impossible to find. Anyway, avijja, therefore, underlying tendency to avijja is the root of all samsaric problems. And Buddha said, this is the end of resorting to rods. So, since Buddha did not have avijja, did not have views, did not have craving, did not have any of these underlying tendencies in him, he did not have, he did not have, he ended all of resorting to rods, weapons. Dandapani has a rod. Buddha did not have any rod. He did not have any weapons. Dandapani's rod represents his pernicious view, sarcastic attitude, his wrong beliefs. That is his rod. That is his a symbolic symbol of his arrogant attitude. Buddha did not have that. So therefore he would not be quarreling, no brawls, no disputes, no recrimination, no malicious words, no false speech. Danda dana, satta dana, kalaha vigha vivada, musavada, pesunya, parusa vacha, all this he did not have. Danda dana, satta dana. Here, adana, not dana. Dana is one thing, adana is another. When you put a at the beginning of dana, that is adana. Adana means holding, taking up weapon, taking up whatever, legally or illegally. Dana means letting go. One simple prefix can change the whole meaning. That happened to me once. When I had my heart attack in Canada, I came back and told our cook, may from now on make my food without less salt. And he made saltless food. I ended up in hospital without low sodium. See, difference? The prefix he put as suffix, he put as prefix, he put as suffix. The preposition to go at the beginning of the word, he put at the end. See the difference? So, dana is one thing, adana is another. When you dana, anisansa. When you adana, adinava. Adana, adinava, dana, anisansa. That is grasping, clinging, craving, adinava. Giving up, anisansa. That is why Buddha says, asada, adinava. Nisarana, anisansa. It's totally different. So he did not take weapons because he has. So when Buddha said this and gave this answer to that monk, Buddha did not mention all these things to Dandapani because he was already confused. He came and gave this little detailed explanation to these monks because they were under training. They were under Buddha's guidance. Some of them might even attain stream entry. We don't know. But he knew that these monks can grasp the meaning and digest easily. So Buddha said this much and left, leaving this monk in still deeper confusion. And then they, oh my goodness, Buddha, we asked a simple question, Buddha said he gave us the complex answer. We don't understand this. What can we do? Mahakachan is there. Mahakachan is there. Buddha mentioned Eddagambe mama Savakanang Sankitena Basa Saptang Vitarene Vivajitung Mahakachano. In Eddagapali, he said, among my disciples, because there is one monk who is number one of explaining any brief statement in details. Any brief statement can be explained in detail by Venerable Kachan, Mahakachan. I will talk about it later on. But for this moment, these monks all went to Mahakacana and mentioned to him, Mahakacana was not there at the meeting. Maybe. We don't know. Venerable Sir, or brother, monk, Mahakacana, this is what the Buddha said, and please explain this meaning of this. So Mahakacana said, friends, it is just like, he was so humble. Every time other monks came and asked him to explain some brief statement that Buddha made, Venerable Mahakacana would say, it is just like leaving a huge tree. You cut its bark, leaves, branches to find the core, heart of the wood. Like that, you should have asked those this to the Buddha. These monks said, I know, we know that. But maybe out of respect, and Buddha was tired and Buddha wanted to take some rest and so forth. He might have let, so we came to you. Buddha himself has praised you as, appointed you as a person, or number one, as a person who would explain any brief statement made by the Buddha in detail. You can explain. Then he said, then he started explaining. Then, listen, friends, and attend closely to what I shall say. So these monks said yes. See, that's what I was expecting. So I stop here now. And then continue the rest in the afternoon. Because this is two-part sutta. So, okay. We prepare for Buddha Puja and all other things. And then I end this talk this morning. Thank you for your attentive, patient listening. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.